he's that type of student that he doesn't boast, he doesn't strut, but he's got a lot to boast about.
I've never seen a major party nominee who had been as unpopular with such a high segment of the American public as Donald Trump has been.
And it develops a real connection between the university and the community, one that we can only build on and make it better and greater and stronger.
Hello and welcome to University Beat. I'm Denise White. This was graduation week at USF, and in the sea of talented students, one young man stood out. He's leaving USF with a degree and a perfect GPA at an age when most students are just arriving. Hedel Gandhi reports.
USF graduating senior Ahmed Mohammed doesn't carry himself with an air of genius, but his gifted mind and warm personality are nothing short of brilliant.
But he stands out because he's a natural leader.
A student who inspires others.
He's definitely at the top of the class.
Graduating with a perfect 4.0, Ahmed is a prestigious King O'Neill recipient and dual major, earning 2 bachelor's degrees, one in biomedical sciences, the other in political science.
He is my oldest one, so this is my dream, you know. I lived all this year to see this moment, so I will be so happy and proud of him.
What's even more remarkable, Ahmed is just 18 years old, the youngest member of this year's graduating class at USF.
Really, my core values drive me. So my core values are altruism, compassion, and excellence. I'm always striving to, first of all, help others and hopefully in the long run alleviate suffering around the world.
Ahmed's life journey began halfway across the world.
So Ahmed, give me an idea of where all you've lived.
Okay, so I started off here in Cairo, Egypt. This is where I was born. After Cairo, we lived in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia for a couple months, but then I moved to the US.
Some of his core American values and leadership skills came from his experience as an Eagle Scout.
So I have this unique blend of, being a leader, but being altruistic as a leader and trying to prioritize the community.
His sense of compassion for community came from traveling back to Egypt several times throughout his life, experiencing the culture and witnessing historic changes.
Being Egyptian and later seeing the Arab Spring and the Egyptian Revolution and seeing a people unite for democracy and against corruption, those events got me thinking.
Thinking about a career in law with hopes of fighting for justice for others. But soon, his family faced a fight of its own. Ahmed's mother suffered a serious heart condition.
So it was a very stressful time for him to feel he will lose me.
The toughest time was that surgery. It's been affecting me ever since. And it's always just been there, and it's been a motivating factor. It hasn't been necessarily something negative. I've been really thankful and lucky to have my mother with me, and it's been an inspiration.
So inspirational, Ahmed decided to pursue 2 extremely challenging graduate programs, law and medicine. This fall, he'll be the first student to attend both the Morsani School of Medicine at USF and the Stetson School of Law at the very same time.
Yeah, trailblazer or guinea pig, however you want to look at it.
He's that type of student that he doesn't boast, he doesn't strut, but he's got a lot to boast about. And so it's delightful, really, to find somebody of that sort of accomplishment who is that humble.
Dr. Charles Adams is Ahmed's advisor at the Honors College at USF. He says it's not just his academic ability, but his talents all around that make Ahmed such an impressive young man.
He's a very accomplished pianist. He plays jazz piano. He's a swimmer. He's interested in everything, and he's got one of these wonderfully curious minds that's interested in everything in the world.
A well-rounded student with a commitment to serve. His classmates are definitely taking notes.
When I look for an example of hardworking success, I think of Ahmed.
And Ahmed's brothers also seem to be following in his footsteps. Their mother says she couldn't be prouder.
I dedicated my life for them, so he is so smart and hard worker. So it is worth it when you see this become a big man and with all this success he has.
Even with all he's accomplished, he's always thinking of what's next.
So there's a lot of options. I could see myself working in legal practice or in medical practice, or for hospital administration, maybe on a bioethics review board, or for a federal agency. So you have the Centers for Disease Control and the Food and Drug Administration. They deal with common public health issues, or maybe even internationally with the World Health Organization and deal with global health issues.
He may only be 18, but Ahmed Mohammed has a clear vision for his legacy.
I want people to think I changed the world. That's the ultimate goal.
For University Beat, I'm Hedel Gandhi.
This has become a familiar sight along Florida's Gulf Coast, most recently in Pinellas and Manatee counties. A fish kill caused by red tide. It's deadly to marine life, a respiratory irritant to beachgoers, and a multi-million-dollar threat to beach communities that rely on tourism. Red tide is an algae bloom, a large concentration of aquatic microorganisms. The bloom releases a powerful toxin that can turn the water red, brown, or even black. Where, when, and for how long red tide will occur have baffled scientists for years. But now, some USF marine researchers believe they're closer to being able to forecast the outbreaks. Using satellites, they're monitoring what's known as the Gulf's loop current, which in part determines the strength of the bloom as it moves nutrients through the water. Buoys positioned offshore measure water temperature and alkalinity. By combining the data and looking at the history of red tide, researchers hope to issue a long-range forecast for this fall, when the algae bloom usually arrives on our beaches.
So water enters through the Yucatan Strait into the Gulf of Mexico and circulates as the loop current and exits through the Florida Strait, eventually forming the Gulf Stream. So when the conditions are correct, that small amount of algae will begin to grow and it'll create a bloom. So once you start a bloom, starts growing on the bottom, in the summer and the fall, the bottom water starts moving towards the coast. This takes that initial bloom, carries it towards the coast where it gets concentrated against the land and also into shallower water. And that's when the bloom really starts to grow in both size and area.
Besides killing fish and birds, scientists believe red tide is also responsible for nearly 30 manatee deaths this year. A couple of USF's male athletes have been making headlines this spring. Tennis player Roberto Cid is ranked second in the nation by the Intercollegiate Tennis Association. And in April, Cid twice defeated the player who at that time was rated number 1. Cid is a senior. Meanwhile, sophomore Matthew O'Neill is a 3-time All-American track star, and he owns the nation's best effort this season in the triple jump at 54 feet 10 3/4 inches. The person overseeing track, tennis, and all other intercollegiate sports at USF is Athletic Director Mark Harlan, and he joins us now on University Beat. And welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate being here.
You arrived to USF just a couple of years ago. What's your general assessment of the athletic program?
Well, to me, this program represents everything about this university. You know, how far the university has come in such a short period of time. I would say the athletic department is in the same way. We're great, but we can be even greater.
Well, you're doing great things, especially recently. In fact, your tennis team right now has won a championship.
Yes, they did. They won a tennis championship last week in the American Athletic Conference. Our golf team also just won a championship. And that's exactly what we're all about. You know, we like to say we're not intramurals here, although there's great intramural programs at USF. We are intercollegiate athletics, and we are out to win championships in everything that we do, whether that be in competition, classroom, or certainly in our community.
A question that's out there concerns a potential football stadium. Where are we right now in discussions on that?
Well, first of all, we're very proud to play at Raymond James Stadium. You know, it's an NFL stadium. It's a beautiful place to play. Our fans love being there. Our kids really love playing in that kind of a venue. But I think it's really important in my role to look what's best for our program. And so one of the things that we're doing is we're analyzing the cost, of course, and the benefits of what an on-campus stadium would do for our program and the university. And I think that we have to always make sure in leadership positions that we're analyzing these things. But it's also very important. You can't build something if you don't have the revenue and if you don't have the things that you need to construct something. As you know, on this campus, everything is perfectly thought through. And we look forward to working on that. But we are strategically looking at it, talking to people in the community and others to see if it's the best way forward. In the interim period, we're very, very honored to play at Raymond James.
Well, what would the benefit be of having an on-campus football stadium?
I think just as someone who's worked in environments, University of Arizona comes to mind. When you have an on-campus stadium, it's 6 to 7 times a year where you can celebrate as not just an athletic department or football program, but of course as a campus. I think there's benefits that go with that. But I think anything you do needs to be more than just a 7-day approach. It needs to be a facility that would be able to host many events, many academic events and all those kind of things. And that's what we really look forward to diving into and taking a look at.
Your football and your basketball program gets a lot of media attention, but you've got, USF has 19 varsity teams?
That's correct.
How does the school fare nationally on some of the other sports?
Well, we're doing really well. You know, we've got great young people who compete, and as you allude to, football and basketball gets the lion's share of attention. But we see championships coming in so many other sports. You know, we talked earlier about golf and tennis, and of course our women's basketball team being in the top 25. Our soccer programs every year getting into the NCAA tournament. Last year we won the American Athletic Conference overall Learfield Cup, which goes to the university's athletic program that gets the most teams into the postseason. So real honored, first time USF has ever had that happen. We're trending to win it again this year, depending on some performances forthcoming. That being said, a broad-based program is critical. It's part of my strategic thinking. I believe with 460 athletes, student athletes competing, success surrounds itself and everybody wants to raise their level of game. We saw that with our football program getting to a bowl this year because they saw how well the women's basketball team was doing. They all want to win. And I think the best programs in this country are the ones that have broad-based championship programs.
So it does a lot for the image of the university, doesn't it?
I believe so. I mean, if you look at our television deal, for example, we're on ESPN on many of our sports. People see that, they watch, and when they watch, whether they're alumni or people from the community or outwards that know about USF, they want to see winners. And people like to invest in winners. And I believe it greatly raises the profile of the university. And that's why it's so important to run a program that we're all proud of. And part of that's winning. Part of that is doing it the right way and having great kids with great character.
And you know, because you've got so many student athletes who are giving their all for the university and to win, as you point out, there are some people who advocate some kind of stipend for college athletes. What's your opinion on that?
Well, the industry of intercollegiate athletic sports has really gone through a transformation of late. I'm really proud that our industry passed the cost of attendance measure, which basically means all the young people that are on scholarship get that gap to help them pay for their overall costs of going to a university. In USF case, each of our student athletes that were on scholarship got an additional $4,000 per year, which goes to various expenses. That needed to happen, it happened, and I think now we're in a really good place. Now if you're on full scholarship, you've got that, you've got room, tuition, books, you don't have any debt when you leave school, you're able to go out and hopefully find a great job. I think that's where we need to be. I've certainly been very vocal, I believe, in the fact that we are not professional sports. We are around young people. We have kids that are here to graduate and go on to many things. And I think we found that balance, and I'm very proud of the NCAA for finally getting that passed.
Over the next 5 to 10 years, where do you see this athletic program going?
Well, I'm very aspirational for our program. I believe that we haven't seen anything yet. You know, if you look at the fact that we're only 19 years old in football and we've been to 8 bowl games and you know, more to come, I think that the sky's the limit for our program. And from that standpoint, very excited. If you look at our whole program overall, we've got championship coaches, we've got championship young people, combined with a university that is so aspirational and believes in greatness. And when you have all those things, and you have great leadership like we do with our president in this incredible Tampa community, you've got your chance to have a program that can really be second to none. So I'd like to think that in that time period you mentioned, we're on the top of mind for people when they're thinking about championship level programs.
Excellent. Thank you.
Thank you.
Donald Trump's victory in the Indiana Republican primary means, in all likelihood, there will not be a contested party convention this summer. Trump's rivals, Ted Cruz and John Kasich, have suspended their campaigns. Now that Trump is the presumptive GOP nominee, Attention is turning to November's general election, where he is expected to face Democrat Hillary Clinton. Dr. Darrell Paulson is an expert on our election process. He's an emeritus professor of government at USF St. Petersburg. Here in his own words are his expectations for the campaign.
I've never seen a major party nominee who has been as unpopular with such a high segment of the American public as Donald Trump has been. I mean, his unfavorable ratings, even among Republicans, are upside down by about 2 to 1. So within the Republican Party, there are about twice as many Republicans who oppose him as support him. And then when you add in the rest of the nation, the independents and the Democrats, his unfavorables become even worse. So that's going to be his primary obstacle in terms of trying to win the election. How do you win the election when 2/3 of the American public in the most recent poll say that they don't like the candidate? People generally don't like to vote for a candidate that they don't like personally. You have two candidates who are being nominated whose unfavorable ratings are much higher than their favorables. That's true for Hillary Clinton. She's got over a majority of the electorate who find her unfavorable. And Trump is even worse than she is. This should be a great opportunity for the Republicans to win the election for several reasons. First, Hillary Clinton has such high unfavorable ratings. And second, she is in fact seeking what is the third term of Barack Obama. We've had 6 prior elections where one party has sought a third term in the White House, and they've only been successful in one case, and that was with George Herbert Walker Bush when he succeeded Ronald Reagan. The other 5 cases, they were unsuccessful at winning a third term. But here you have a candidate whose unfavorables are even worse than his opponent in the Democratic Party. So he's going to have a tough time winning the election just for that reason alone. Plus putting together that coalition. You know, Republicans can capture the white vote. A lot of people don't realize that Romney, 4 years ago, won the white vote in America by about 20 percentage points. And if you had told people that, you know, if Mitt Romney can win the white vote by 20 percentage points, is he going to be president? And most people would have said yes. He ended up losing the election by 4 or 5 percentage points. And it's because the white segment of the electorate has substantially declined over the past 20 to 30 years. And the other segment of the electorate, minority segment in particular, Hispanics and blacks in particular, has substantially expanded. And they've gone heavily towards the Democratic Party. So unless the Republican Party and Donald Trump can peel some of that segment away, Hispanics and blacks and women, it's impossible for them to win the election. We don't know what will happen between now and Election Day. I mean, if Hillary is indicted for the email issue, server issue in her house, I mean, that can change the dynamics. You've got a lot of Bernie Sanders supporters who say, you know, 1 out of 4 say that they will not vote for Hillary Clinton. So whether or not they will honor that commitment or change their mind, as oftentimes happens, and the closer you get to Election Day, they'll say my choice is either between Clinton or Trump. Clinton is better than Trump, and they'll come back and support Hillary Clinton. But you know, Trump can win, but it's going to be extremely difficult, and all of the things would sort of have to fall in place for him to win the election. And he would have to make some fundamental changes in his own personal conduct, because what he's done successfully in the primary to win the votes of Republican voters is not going to work in the general election, in my view. And he's got to become far more presidential than he's been in the primary process. And even if he does so, there's the question of, will voters believe that this is the real Donald Trump, or is he just putting on an act in order to try and win the presidency?
The USF Sarasota Manatee campus is tweaking its popular interdisciplinary social sciences program, also known as ISS. Starting in the fall, classes will be organized under 5 theme study topics. They are environmental science and policy, government and global affairs, crime, law and justice, applied aging and well-being, and social relations and policy. Courses will relate not only to the overall theme, but also to other courses within that topic. The idea is to encourage critical thinking towards real-world problems and to discover connections among diverse fields of study. For this week in USF history, we go back to May 9th, 1972. That's when Senator Lawton Child spoke at the commencement ceremonies for 3,600 undergraduates and 500 graduate-level students. WUSF Public Media had some special guests late last month. It was Take Your Child to Work Day at the university, and we hosted about 20 future broadcasters. They got to see behind the scenes in radio at WUSF 89.7 and classical WSMR, all those buttons and dials and microphones and things. And then it was off to television for a look at what goes on here. There was even a stop at the University Beat set and a chance for an impromptu audition.
At 800-741-9090.
At last word, those two would-be anchors were looking for an agent. Students at USF St. Petersburg recently had the chance to hang out with some exceptional local fifth graders. What made the experience especially memorable was where the students met up, in canoes, cruising Tampa Bay. University Beat's Mark Schreiner hopped on board to join them.
Both hands out in front. You're getting it, man. Both hands out in front. Put some muscle in it.
The upcoming end of the school year was the perfect reason for students from USF St. Petersburg and Fairmount Park Elementary to hit the bay on a Friday afternoon.
And I'm really excited just to see the smile on these students' faces when they get out in nature and they just are allowed to just breathe after testing and just be kids again.
On one side were students from two USF St. Pete programs. First, the College of Education, which works closely with a number of local elementary schools.
We have over 40 College of Education students in all of these schools that we partner with throughout the year, which accumulates to over 1,000 hours of hands-on time with these elementary schools.
The second program is Outdoor Leadership, which uses lessons in nature as a way to teach students how to take command in real-life situations.
You know, what happens is the students learn a lot about trip planning and about how to make decisions on the fly. And that's a big part of it when you're in an outdoor environment. You know, you never know what can happen.
On the other side of the canoe were exceptional fifth graders from Fairmount Park Elementary. Despite the fact they've spent their entire lives just minutes from the bay, some had never been out on the water before.
You know, but you get kids out here like this and say, this is where we live. You know, this is where people have lived for thousands of years. It really puts them in touch with the environment, puts them in touch with their community, and I think it makes them stronger and healthier.
Before hitting the bay, students got some tips on staying dry from Tomlin, the outdoors editor for the Tampa Bay Times.
All right, because if you do, what's going to happen?
You're going to fall.
It's going to tip over, and then you're going to go swimming, and I don't think you're ready for a swimming trip today, are you?
I am.
You are?
I am.
Okay, well, you can swim afterwards.
Then it was on to an hour-long mini sea cruise. Fairmount Park is one of 5 St. Petersburg schools highlighted in a year-long Tampa Bay Times investigation of failing schools. But Ambush urges people to look beyond the headlines.
And what we're also seeing is a lot of emotional development that's not always getting covered as well. Just because the test scores might say one thing, doesn't actually mean that the emotional growth and support of these students is not growing in a positive way.
For their part, the Fairmount Park students loved the experience.
I saw a lot of animals.
What kind of animals?
Stingrays, little crabs, and fishes.
I never feel so free putting my face in the sun and feeling a little bit better.
Thanks to a grant from the Juvenile Welfare Board, USF St. Pete's College of Education will continue its outreach with a summer camp for 60 students from 6 local schools.
And they're going to be doing activities that are going to be out on our campus, out in the community, as well as academic enrichment programs.
And that connection between USF St. Petersburg and its local community can bring benefits to both sides.
And it develops a real connection between the university and the community, one that we can only build on and make it better and greater and stronger.
For University Beat, I'm Mark Schreiner.
A few shows ago, we told you about a production of the play Violet that was being presented by Theater USF. Well, guess what? We heard back from the cast and crew.
Hi, University Beat, the cast of Violet loves you!
Thank you for that. If you have something you'd like to say to us or a story you'd like to see us cover, let us know. Our email is ubeat@wusf.org. Our website is universitybeattv.org. We're also on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and you can find us by searching University Beat TV. And that is University Beat for this week. I'm Denise White. Thank you so much for joining us.